Now, see, to me, this is another example of courageous faith. There's no certainty here. Bob doesn't even see his way through this particular grief. He can't even see the other end right now. He's right in the middle of it. And the hopeful optimism that his wife would be healed, that's long gone. For Bob, life is a fragile construction right now. It's tenuous. It's day by day. But in spite of that, he's choosing to go forward and to live his best life and to be the best person that he can be. To live the life of faith. To live the human life. To take the risk. To be all he can be. Don McCullough once wrote, "To be fully human, we must engage life. We must make decisions, build relationships, create beauty, give ourselves. Not to take these risks is the greatest risk of all, the risk of losing our humanity." Well, you know, if you have to be a little crazy to get married, you have to be a little crazy to live this life of faith, to live this human life. To live by faith is not about denying our doubts or the uncertainty of the future. It's building on our doubts and investing our lives in things that are real, that are loving, and that are of value. This is the key to contentment and peace of mind in a world constantly filled with change. And if there's one thing we know, the only constant in the world is change. And I think this is especially true in this last century with the exponential change that we've experienced. It's just incredible. I was having a conversation with one of our 90-plus-year-olds this last week, and for some reason we got to talk about iPods. Now, who knows what an iPod is? Raise your hand. Okay, quite a few of you. An iPod. It's the thing that plays music. Anyway, we were both talking about iPods and how the fact that neither one of us were really techies. You know, I have one, I can turn it on, and that's about it. But we were talking about those things, and I actually have to mention that my daughter, because we're also, ironically, in an age of nostalgia where people want to go back a lot, especially people my age, and experience things that they experienced when they were kids. And I was sharing about the fact that my daughter actually bought me a phonograph, a replica of a Crossley record player. Of course, this record player has a plug for an iPod, and a CD player, and a cassette tape player, which now is almost an antique. But, and so what I did is I went down to the used record store in Tampa, and I got a whole stack of vintage rock and roll records. And when I get in the mood, I play them on the record player. It's a whole different experience. Anyway, so we started talking about iPods, and then I asked him, I said, what was it like when you were growing up as a kid? What was the world like, 1920-something or 1930? What do you remember about that time? And he said, well, we had an Iceman. We had an icebox. Now, understand, this isn't the span of one person's life. From iceboxes to iPods in one person's life. To me, that's just incredible. That exponential change. Arthur Schlesinger once said, with the acceleration in the rate of social change, humans become creatures characterized by inextinguishable discontent. Disappointment is the universal modern malady. Discontentment. Why is that? Well, maybe it's because we've come to see that progress has not alleviated the struggle of the human soul. With all that we have, with as comfortable and as we are, with all the conveniences, we still experience the struggle of the human soul. We still experience grief, alienation, loneliness, longing, same struggle now as it was in 1920. So we find ourselves somewhat discontented. Things should be better. But it never will. It never will. It will always be the same in that sense. Or maybe we're discontented because we see that nothing lasts. Nothing lasts. Everything changes. And we come to see that nothing lasts. Even us. Even we don't last. And so we desperately want something to stay the same. And it's funny that the one thing religious folk often want to stay the same is the church. That's why it's so hard to change the church, because they figure everything else in the world is the same. At least my church is changing. At least my church can stay the same. But nothing lasts. The only constant is change. But faith is investing our lives in things that matter regardless of the uncertainties of change and the uncertainties of life. Regardless of whether or not we can see our way clear or see our way through or know what tomorrow will hold. Even in the midst of change and uncertainty and the transience of life, we don't need to be disappointed. Remember the words of Paul? We will not be disappointed because the love of God has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. Though the mountains should crumble and fall into the sea, we will not be disappointed. We will not be disappointed. We will not be afraid. We will not be immobilized by fear and doubt, because love is enough. We will not be disappointed because the love of God has been poured into our hearts through the Holy Spirit. We will not be disappointed. We will love anyway. We will act anyway. We will invest our lives in the things that matter anyway because of the love of God. And to me, that's the definition of what it means to be a Christian. And one of the benefits of long-term ministry, and I consider my ministry here a long-term ministry for me because I will have been here 10 years next year, and I don't think I've been in one place longer than 5 or 6 years, so it's been long-term. And one of the benefits has been that occasionally some of the little seeds that you sow, they kind of come back, and you get to see the fruit of your labor, and that feels very good. It's very satisfying to me. And I mentioned Bob, who wrote me the letter, and he said, after my wife died, I was going through her things, and in the bottom of one of her dresser drawers was a little clipping from a newspaper article that you had written. And it meant a lot to her because she kept it, and she didn't keep a lot of things. And he sent me a copy of the article. And the theme of the article was Philippians chapter 4, I can do all things through Christ who strengthens me. And at the end of that article, I quoted an anonymous little exhortation which Mother Teresa had framed and displayed in the Calcutta office. And it is called Anyway. So I thought I might just close by reading that. People are unreasonable, illogical, self-centered. Love them anyway. If you do good, people will accuse you of selfish, ulterior motives. Do good anyway. If you're successful, you win false friends and true enemies. Be successful anyway. The good you do today may be forgotten tomorrow. Do good anyway. Honesty and frankness will make you vulnerable. Be honest and frank anyway. People love underdogs, but follow only top dogs. Follow some underdogs anyway. What you spend years building may be destroyed overnight. Build anyway. People really need help, but may attack you if you try to help. Help people anyway. If you give the world the best you have, you may be kicked in the teeth, but give the world the best you have anyway. Anyway. We may have doubts about life. We may have doubts about